All right, looks like we're live. Let me just check, make sure this is going out all right. Pardon me, on the YouTubes here. Come on, Carol's little live stream. All right, sounds okay. All right, so a couple of things I want to talk about today. First of all, yesterday there was apparently the alt-right and the alt-light, and I hate that name. But they had dueling free speech rallies yesterday in, I guess, Washington. I was pretty blissfully unaware of that whole shit show because apparently, they were having a big dick measuring contest with each other, and Cernovich was fighting with alt-right people or something. Thankfully, like I said, I was very blissfully unaware. I spent the afternoon into the evening having a cookout with some friends, cooked some grilled chicken over a fire pit. Good food, good friends. I mean, politics matters and all, but some of this drama is just not worth getting caught up in. So yeah, that's all I want to talk about that shit. Because I don't really know all the details. I don't know who won the dick measuring contest, nor do I particularly care. So, yeah. But I am aware of it, kind of, before anybody in the chat was, hey, what do you think about it? I don't care. All right, so things I did want to talk about today. Let's see. There's an article, and there's that site I shit on here a lot called breakpoint.org. It's one of these basic bitch neocon religious right sites. It's founded by Chuck Colson. He was one of the major players in the Watergate scandal back in the day, and then found Jesus in jail and all that good shit. And he's dead now, so it's run by two fucking Christian new males, Eric Metaxas and John Stonestreet, couple of baby boomer cocksuckers. And today, John Stonestreet had an article, and this is the first time I checked this site in a couple months, probably at least. And sure enough, it didn't disappoint with a whole lot of horse shit. Today's article at breakpoint.org, June 26, 2016, for those of you playing along at home, is numbed by video games, anesthetic for the male soul. So Mr. Stonestreet starts the article, are video games worthy of all the time and attention they get from young men these days? One writer thinks so, but he's wrong. John continues, if there is a stereotype that lives up to reality these days, it's the unemployed, disaffected, 20-something American male who haunts his parents' basement, addicted to World of Warcraft. All right, so let's talk about this for a moment here. Why exactly are 20-something American males disinfected, John? Why exactly are the millennials in this current state, Mr. Baby Boomer? Could it perhaps be that you, the generation that inherited the greatest wealth the world had ever seen, left the greatest debt the world had ever seen, with a broken-ass economy, where it's, in many areas, it's pretty difficult to find a job where you can even just have an apartment and eat something more than ramen noodles, let alone really build a life for yourself the way your generation, just took for granted. He goes on here, and it is the typical baby boomer cocksucker anti-video game article that or segment that you'd see on Fox News or, even on the liberal channels. I don't want to get too far into it, but here's the thing. You could certainly shit on the millennials. Now, I'm old millennial or I'm a young Gen Xer, depending on where exactly you draw the line, born in 83. But most metrics put me as a millennial. Now, you can certainly shit on the millennials. And in many respects, they deserve it. But baby boomers don't get to. First of all, the reason John Stone Street has a problem with video games, and this is true of baby boomers across the board. Hell, this is true of my dad. Yeah, this is true of my father, and I love my father to death. He's one of the greatest men I've ever known. But even he gets fucking triggered by video games because it's alien to him. He didn't have it as a kid. He doesn't understand it. It's that simple. You know, your average baby boomer can spend 14 hours binge watching a fucking show on television, think nothing of it, look down on someone who spends an hour playing a video game. That's just the way these people are. I was kind of tempted to go put a comment on there this morning, but I had other shit going on today, so I haven't had time. I just got home shortly, like not too long ago. But I read this morning as I was getting ready for stuff. You know, why do millennial males have nothing but video games left? And if the feminists had their way, we wouldn't even have that shit. I don't know. Why don't these males go out and get a fucking girl? I don't know. Why don't they go out and get married? Could it maybe perhaps be that the feminism that your generation thrust upon us, and I know feminism goes back a little ways before that, but, you know, yeah, that was feminism back. Oh, we want the right to vote. You know, this is now you can perhaps make an argument that wasn't even the best of ideas. But the point is, it's the baby boomers. They're the ones that gave us no-fault divorce, okay? They're the ones, you know. Why the fuck would your average millennial male even want to get married right now? Why? Why would he want to do that? Barring a religious obligation to feel the need to do it. Or maybe some sort of 1488 type urge to save the white race and have a bunch of white babies. I can't imagine why you'd want to take that fucking risk these days. It's it's pretty damn scary, all right? You're essentially putting your manhood and your wallet in a blender and hoping the other person doesn't push the button. Because of the laws John's generation gave us, Mr. Stone Street's generation gave us. And then he has the nerve to sit there and go, why did you play video games all the time? Why don't you get a job? I don't know, maybe because you butt-fucked the economy to hell and back. And they can't find jobs. Now, there are jobs out there. Again, I don't want to excuse the millennials of their responsibility. By no means do I want to excuse my generation of responsibility here. What I do want to say, though, is of all fucking people, the baby boomers don't get to say shit about it. Because you know what? The baby boomers are the worst generation. The World War II generation, if we call them the greatest generation, then you baby boomers, you're the worst. You are the worst thing, bar none, by a wide margin, to ever happen to the United States of America. And quite possibly the worst thing to happen to Western civilization as a whole. At the very least, you're in the top 5. Your generation is such utter trash. You destroyed everything. You took the greatest wealth the world had ever seen and turned it into the greatest debt. You destroyed the liberty we take for granted in this country. You butt-fucked it to hell and back. You wrecked the relationship between the sexes. You destroyed everything. Everything in this country that was worth living for. Faith, family, freedom. You threw it all in the garbage. And then you want to sit there and you want to judge us because we're playing fucking Xbox or Nintendo. Go fuck yourselves. You worthless cocksuckers. You are so lucky we don't just put you on the fucking ice floe. Because that's where you belong. That's what you deserve. Again, not every fucking boomer. Don't be fucking autistic. That's not what I'm saying. As a whole, your generation, and Mr. Stone Street is not immune, deserves that. How dare you sit here and judge us? How fucking dare you? Even all this social justice bullshit that my generation is all about, you know why they're all about it, Stone Street? Because your generation killed God. Not literally, of course, but figuratively. Your generation threw the church out. Your generation threw God out. God is dead, ha ha ha, as you smoke your joint and roll around in the mud, listening to shitty music that you still act like is the greatest music ever made. Fuck baby boomers. Fuck your entire generation. God. Why are you just playing video games? The same fucking generation. How many fucking hours of their life has the average baby boomer wasted watching fucking football? But if millennial wants to actually play a football video game, well, then they're wasting their life, aren't they? It's weird. I haven't been to that site in months. I went on there this morning, just scrolling through. I wonder what Breakpoint's up to. And sure enough, they didn't fucking disappoint. And that smug motherfucker thinks he launched some sort of scathing indictment against my generation because we have a form of entertainment he doesn't understand. And it's basically all we have because he destroyed everything else. Well, speaking of video games, Nintendo just announced the SNES Classic or Mini or whatever. Yeah, the NES Mini, I guess, was the so the SNES Mini or whatever. And it's funny. I went on the Facebook page, the Nintendo Facebook page where they announced it, and all the comments are like, "Go fuck yourself, Nintendo." Because you know what you did last time? You made this cool product everybody fucking wanted, and you didn't make enough of them. Almost fucking purposely. And people ended up fucking knife fighting over it, and you're lucky if you get one for $100, which is way more than it's worth. $60 is about what that fucking thing is worth. Because while it was extremely cool, the NES Mini, it was a fucking plug and play. All right, that's all the hell it was. Now the SNES Mini seems really damn cool. And it has Star Fox 2 on it, which is very interesting. Star Fox 2, if you didn't know, was an almost completely finished game. It basically just needed a little bit more bug testing, maybe just a touch more polish, and was never released. I don't know why. There's all sorts of theories or whatever, but it was never released. Now, you can get a bootleg copy of it, a reproduction copy, whatever, on a cart. For whatever reason, Star Fox 2 is often very expensive. To put it in perspective, I just bought BS Excite Bike for the Super Nintendo Broadcast Satellite Excite Bike, which I went into Saturday. It's just a version of Excite Bike for the Super Nintendo. It had Mario characters, but you could only play it through the satellite download thing that the Super Famicom had. Well, somebody put it on a cart, and I got it for $35 at that con. $35 to $40 is about what you pay for your average repro cart. Star Fox 2, for some reason, I see roughly around $90. I don't know why. Maybe it's the fucking, what was that little chip or something that allowed for some of the graphics Star Fox did. Maybe that makes a repro more expensive. I don't know. Point is, it's not easy to come by and play it. I mean, I'm sure emulators are cheap. I don't know anything about emulators, really, guys. I never got into emulators. But anyways, this is the first time, to my knowledge, that Nintendo has officially released this game. And it is on this SNES Mini, and that's very, very cool. Too bad, Nintendo, you're not going to probably make enough. All right. I'm not going to sit here and get excited about it. It seems cool, but I'm not going to sit here and get excited about it. I'm not going to pay. And that thing would have sold so much more if they'd have made the NES. I remember, my now former job, a couple of the office ladies, mentioned to me that they'd love to get their hands on one. And if I knew where to get one, I'm like, no, sorry. I mean, for me, most of the games that are on it that I want it, I already have actual NES carts of, so it wasn't a big deal. Um, but yeah, I, maybe in like maybe a year or so, the bottom will drop out and you'll be able to get an NES Mini Classic or whatever the hell they were called at a reasonable price. But right now, you just can't. And it'll probably be the same shit with the SNES Mini. It's just not worth getting excited about. It's not worth even trying, really. Although who knows? Maybe because maybe a bunch of people will feel that way and it won't be as much of a. But I don't know. Again, as much as I love Nintendo, as much as I feel like they're still the best in the industry right now. That ain't saying much because the industry is kind of shitty right now, and they're far from perfect. This sort of shit that they pull, I don't even know what the hell causes it. There's times I wonder if it's almost like they don't realize they're popular because they've had some flops, like the Wii U didn't do as well as they thought. No, it's like they don't realize how popular they are sometimes. Like, because it really doesn't benefit them to have scalpers doing this shit. Everyone's like, oh, they want to do that on purpose. It's not like they're selling you the NES Mini for $100, you know? Let's see. I'm going to stroll through the comments here, see what's going on. Somebody says, want to become a little bit more depressed, go on Steam and check out the top selling games on sale. Well, I don't have a Steam, so I couldn't tell you anything about that. Somebody says, all of my friends have full-time jobs where they work their asses off, and boomers work their asses off and they can't even afford to move out. Boomers made so much money with no effort. Kids today work like 50 hours. Oh, yeah. Yeah, boomers, at a decent, boomers were able to get, entry-level jobs where, one or two promotions in, they could easily afford to raise a family and get a house. I mean, I've never lived on my own. I've always either had a roommate or I've lived with my father. Now, I mean, I moved out of my parents' house and I had a roommate for a while. Um, but I recently moved back in with my dad a little while ago. He was going through a divorce and I was between roommates, and then next thing you know, I got laid off. It was a couple years ago. And then I found another job and I got laid off again. I mean, shit, in my lifetime, I've been laid off from two jobs in my lifetime. I mean, I've quit a couple of other jobs because I found what I thought were better ones, but I've been laid off twice. Whereas, boomers just got a fucking job out of high school and they were just there their whole fucking life. And see, they thought that this awesome economy they inherited, that's just how the way things were. They didn't think that that was something precious they needed to maintain so they could pass it on to their children. No, it's something they thought they were just magically owed because they were so fucking awesome. Somebody says the thumbnail for that Breakpoint article alone looks like shit. Yeah, it's some like loser looking neckbeard dude who's like, his eyes are all red because he's hypnotized by the evil video game. It's a witch. God, fucking boomers. The worst generation. I think any technology after 1980 is inherently silly and possibly dangerous. I don't know a single person under 25 who watches TV. Probably not. I mean, yeah, some watch Netflix, but most don't. There's not a lot worth watching. I mean, what is there, 300 fucking channels, and there's like 3 shows I watch. Breakpoint always does some shit. That they do. Boomers vote most for the cucks. No, no doubt. Boomers are a pretty fucking cuck generation. Um, let's see. Marriage laws in Europe are a lot better than America. Well, that's good. Vitamin capital D there is the best medicine for calming women down. Yep. Kitty Holiday is this female blogger I follow on like Facebook and Twitter. Somewhat friendly with her, and she had this one post where she said like, "Did you know that if a woman starts acting all bitchy, there's a reset button? It's located inside her, just a few inches under her belly button, and you have to hit it a couple dozen times in a row." But let's see what we got here. Sup, homies. Okay, so that's a good part of it. Started okay, and a whole bunch of message retracted. All right. Has anyone seen Fargo, the TV show, yet? No, I haven't. I've heard good things about it. So, let's see. But yeah, that Breakpoint article I really wanted to talk about because that shit triggered me. I'll probably maybe do a dramatic reading of it on fucking Saturday. But that was ridiculous. So a couple of games I got over at the con. I had a list of some NES games I was looking for. One of which I should have gotten because it was a Star Trek The Next Generation game that was on the NES. And the guy actually had a pretty good price on it. And I just wasn't sure. And I didn't want to spend a ton of money. So I didn't get it. But I probably should have because I looked online and I probably should have grabbed it when I had the chance there. But anyways, I ended up picking up Tiny Toons for the NES, the first one, which is a pretty solid little platformer. Very heavily influenced from Mario 3, but Konami did really, really good licensed games, and I know they did a Tiny Toons game on the Genesis, which is really solid. But it's so far it's good. I mean, it's just your basic platformer. It's nothing super special. If you don't have any like fond memories of the cartoon, you might not care. But if you like platformers, it's definitely worth checking out, and it's not expensive. I got mine for $10, so. As far as finding a remotely playable fucking NES game for $10 anymore is not the easiest thing in the world. Let's see what else. Oh, and I got a game called 3D World Runner, which it's like a third person from behind perspective of this guy running. It's this pseudo 3D perspective. Which was incredibly cutting edge for the NES. This is pushing the limits of what the NES can do, really. And but I mean, it's literally you're just running and avoiding obstacles and jumping over pits. That's it. I don't know if the manual would have some sort of story for what's going on here, but that's all it is. But it's a pretty almost relaxing kind of game. And again, it was only $8. So if you have an NES, it's definitely worth picking up. Let's see. Steam is selling a game called The Swapper. Sounds like a porno. No thanks. Again, I don't have Steam, so I don't like digital only content in general. Like I said, you don't own it. You don't really own it. I saw the latest Transformers film that came out, and the idea of The hell? Sorry. I saw the latest Transformers film that just came out, and the idea of jerking off into a glass of TV shows fans as they weep that Bay is raping their childhood is worth the price of admission. You know, I'll be honest. I don't think those Transformers movies are nearly as bad as everyone says. Oh, the first one I kind of like. I think it's, you know, it's a decent popcorn flick. I mean, the hell do you expect? It's the fucking Transformers. They were always kind of dumb. Yeah, hell, the second one that everyone shits on. Yeah, it's not a particularly good movie, but I don't get how it triggers so many of you fucking nerds. Like, okay, it's like Spoonie, his review of it, he's like, it's the worst movie I've ever seen. It's like, Spoonie, it doesn't even come close to being the worst movie you've ever reviewed. How you can find some sort of fucking good in some piece of shit Reb Brown did, but, you know, this is completely beyond the pale to you. Let's see. Bechtloff, ever hear of Life is Strange? It's a SJW shit mobile game. I have not heard of it, no. Let's see. Do a dramatic reading of SMB3 Brick Bride Brick. I don't have it anymore. I did a review of it for reaction. But yeah, I don't actually have the thing anymore. And I'm not buying a second fucking copy. And you can't find them used. Like, I wanted to find a used copy on Amazon or something. Couldn't do it. I had to go on Fangamer and get it off there because I doubt he sold that many of them for used copies to even show up anywhere. But yeah, I don't have it anymore. I actually sold it to my local retro game store, along with a couple other games for store credit. They gave me $1 for that book. And I mean, jokes on them. I would have taken, like, you know, a penny. I would have paid, here, you throw this away. So no, I don't have it anymore. So I can't help you there. Let's see. Okay, people are arguing about Zionism in the chat. I don't want to get into that right now. Bechtloff, did you know that the famous ROM site, I can't pronounce that, had to remove all of their first-party Nintendo games? I mean, I wouldn't doubt that, you know. Nintendo protects its brand, for better or worse. I don't think they should go after ROM hacks. That's a mistake, but I mean, whether or not it's a bad idea, it is their decision. But yeah, I would agree it's a bad idea. What weirdos are holding on to their copies like they'll have value in the future? I'm not sure what copies of what. I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't know what we're talking about on that. Let's see. People bitching about Life is Strange. I don't really know anything about that, so. People yakking about Israel in the chat. I mean, I don't have any ill will towards Israel. I just rather wish, you know, they are America's biggest welfare queen. I'd like to stop giving them fucking money. Why do people want drawings from comic books and Disney princesses with more realistic body types? Oh, the thing where they make them fat? It's because they're a bunch of fat asses, and they feel bad about the fact that they're fat asses because you're not supposed to be a fat ass. So instead of doing the work to stop being a fat ass, they'd rather just, you know, everyone else be a fat ass, and they don't feel bad about themselves. Um, I like Israel. I don't think they're perfect, but I prefer them over Muslim nations. Well, yeah, but that's like me saying I would prefer to have herpes than I would AIDS. Like, ideally, I don't want either. You know, I don't want to get either one of those things. But, one is obviously far worse. Um, Somebody says, "Can we talk about Mr. Matover's Randy Stare video?" Well, I mean, what is there to talk about? The guy was Matover had the best response at the end of it, where he said, people are afraid to look into these guys because they're afraid they're glorifying them. But I'd rather just laugh at them because Randy Stare deserves to be mocked. This guy killed 3 people because he thought he was going to get cartoon ghost pussy in heaven. It's like, congratulations on being an even dumber suicide fucking murderer than Muslims. I wonder if, like, in hell, there's like a demon that looks like that fucking cartoon chick that's just forever out of his reach, just an eternity of her cucking him or something. Um, Randy, I'm going ghost. Yeah, he's going ghost, all right. Um, let's see. Training Phantom. Uh, and he's actually the perfect example of this weird sort of tranny that's popped up in the last few years. I don't know, maybe it goes, but the internet's highlighted it. Maybe it's been around a lot more than that. But you would think if a dude becomes a chick, he'd want to be with dudes, right? But no, what ends up happening with so many of these trannies is that they become chicks. They don't fucking really become chicks. I'm sorry. You're born a male, you die a male. But they transition and then they still want to date chicks. And I've actually heard it argued that um, in that case, it's almost a malignant. How do they put it? It was a malignant form of hyperheterosexuality, where this person is so enamored with the opposite sex, so unable to connect to their same sex peers on any level, that they not only want to be with the opposite sex, they also want to be them. Um, let's see. Um, how did Butch Hartman respond to this? Just wondering. I don't know who that is. Bechtloff, is Contra actually hard, or is that just a meme? I haven't played Contra in a while. I don't actually own it. I think it was like 10 years ago. What was it? I think the last time I played it was maybe like 5 years ago at a friend's house. Um, and it's not that bad. I mean, it's the one hit kills really does make it a bit of a ball buster, but it's hardly even close to the hardest game on the NES. It's hard, but it's not hard to a point that almost breaks the game. There's certain games that are just on the NES that are hard to a point where it's like, you know, this is not even remotely fun. You know, the kind of games that, like, I don't know, Bayou Billy is a good example of that, where it's like, the difficulty far outstrips any fun factor. Yeah, I mean, yeah, Contra's not an easy game by any stretch, and it can bust your balls. And I suggest the 30 life code on it, but it's not bad. Um, let's see. Contra is hard, one hit and you're dead. Yeah, that's the biggest problem with it. I mean, you know, that Silver Surfer game, that Angry Video Game never did an episode on relatively early on, I think. It's basically just a 2D, you know, side-scrolling kind of shooter. And that would actually probably be a really good game if you could, like, ROM hack it and add, like, a Mega Man-style life bar to him. Because the Silver Surfer is a pretty powerful character. There's no reason he should be having one-hit kills in the first damn place. But yeah, Silver Surfer is probably way harder than Contra. Let's see. What else we got here? I thought PP was removed. I don't know what that's referring to. Are they still up? So he says, "Are you a fan of sports?" I like hockey. I don't watch it all that much because I don't watch a lot of TV and I kind of just forget when it's on or whatever. Like I didn't even know the Stanley Cup was going on a couple weeks ago. But I do enjoy watching a hockey game. I watch basketball too. I'm not as big of a fan of that, but like if I have buddies that are watching it, I'll sit down and watch it because it's fast paced enough. It's entertaining. But I do really like hockey. Some of the more popular ones, like baseball and football, are way more popular than both of them, and especially football. And I can't fucking watch either one of them. They're boring to all hell. Plebeian podcast. Apparently, I don't know who that is, but I guess he got all his stuff taken out. Back off, just checking. You hate the Amish still? Oh yes, with a burning, deep, psychotic passion. You know, I would be happy to fucking round them all up. At the very least, ship them away somewhere off. That's a weird thing. Like everybody thinks the Amish are like secluded and off on their own thing. I fucking wish. They're just all over the place. Hate on the Amish some more. Well, they suck. Here's a fun fact about the Amish. And I've said this numerous times on here, but I'll repeat it because it's worth repeating because it makes me laugh. Here's a fun little fact about the Amish. The Amish routinely drown in shit. This is a fact. You see, if you ever drive by like an Amish farm, you might notice there's these big, they almost look like giant concrete above ground pools. And that's kind of what they are. And what they're filled with is not water, but shit. They're filled with manure. Cow shit, pig shit. I imagine their own shit. And they use this for manure. And what ends up happening is they gotta get up on the side of it and they gotta stir the shit. They gotta, just that. They gotta stir the shit, just like some of you might be doing in the chat right now. You gotta stir the shit. And they get up there and the fumes get to them. Not even the smell, because I'm sure the smell means nothing to them. Because if you've ever smelled an Amishman, God have mercy, it is the worst fucking thing in the world. Imagine the worst BO with shit and mud and just a little bit, just a pinch of decomp, as if he's starting to rot away under the filth. And then that's your average Amishman. And the women are worse. The women are worse. Holy shit! Because then you get just a hint of low tide on top of it all too. But that's what your average Amishman smells like, right? So they get up there and they're stirring the shit. Now the smell, I can't imagine the smell bothers them. I can't imagine there are smells that could bother them. Okay. But the fumes will actually get to them. The methane, the ammonia, what have you, just cuts off the oxygen to their stupid fucking brains, and they pass out and they fall into the shit. Now, because they're backwards fucking retards who don't value life, They don't have any kind of safety precautions. There's not a ladder in there to get out. They usually don't have somebody else with them. And maybe they don't even wake up when they hit the shit and they just drown in there. Or maybe, and this is horrible, they just fucking tread water, or water in quotation marks here, till they finally can't anymore. That would be really horrifying. Although I have to imagine if they're screaming, maybe somebody would come out for help for them. But they drown in the shit. Now, I find it so amusing. It's so fitting. Like, why do they drown in shit? Because they deserve to. Okay, they die. That's a case of dying as you lived. You know, in filth and stupidly. But yeah, fuck the Amish. They're trash. They are trash. Let's see. In fact, I think I'm going to do an animated video. One of the ones Artistic Layman's going to do. It's going to be me telling the story of how the Amish routinely drown in shit. I meant to get him the audio yesterday. I just didn't get around to it because I was out with friends. But somebody says it took me a little while to realize what low tide meant. Yeah, it's bad. It's bad. God, those people stink. Ugh. Oh, and they're terrible at everything. At everything. Yeah, I was just visiting a buddy of mine. He has a wood shop, and he had to farm out some welding to these Amish guys. And what they brought him back, this was one of the worst fucking welding jobs I'd ever seen. You know, the little holes and shit along where they've welded it. It's just gaps, and it was terrible. It was fine. I've never welded in my life. I've never slapped two pieces of metal together in my life. I can't imagine I could have done worse. I wouldn't have. I'd have been too ashamed to hand it to him in that condition. But you know, they suck at everything. They're lousy farmers. They're awful farmers. They can't fucking. They claim to be metal workers. They can't fucking do any kind of metal work. I'll give them one bit of credit. They are pretty decent woodworkers, pretty decent carpenters. But they're terrible. They're fucking backwards trash. Fucking. Ugh. Let's see. Let's see. They speak a dialect of German. Yeah, they speak this really bastardized, fucking retarded cousin of German. Like, okay, like as someone who speaks English, imagine like the thickest, most retarded sounding Southern accent you've ever heard. You know what I mean? Where like you can barely understand what the fuck this redneck is saying, right? Now you crank that up even further. Crank that dial right up to 11. Fucking Spinal Tap style. Right up to 11. And then you have the difference between what the Amish speak and Germans. Like somebody that actually speaks German, like an actual German, assuming there are any left that haven't been killed by fucking refugees. If they were to come over and hear an Amishman talk, they would have a hard time. They could probably basically understand him, but they'd probably look at him like, you're fucking retarded, aren't you? That's about what it is. Hi, I'm Dan from Grim Reaper Gutters. I won't leave until I make a sale. That was kind of a random reference in the chat, but it made me laugh. Yeah. Don't ever let anybody tell you. And I get like, I'll argue with like people on Facebook sometimes about it. Like I get sucked into it. Like it drives me nuts when people don't have to live around these fucking animals, think that they're cute and they're quaint and they're somehow more spiritual. That especially as a Christian, that drives me fucking nuts. Because I'll tell you something right now. That's the biggest myth that persists of them. They are not fucking more spiritual. Not at all. Amish are modern day fucking Pharisees. All right. They are spiritually dead inside, as dead as they fucking come. You could not have a form of Christianity more steeped in legalism than the Amish. Hell, you fucking Catholics seem like you're all about grace compared to the fucking Amish. All right. And here's a big reason why they're spiritually dead, aside from the legalism, aside from the rampant fucking pharisaical legalism that basically defines their religion, that just marinates the whole fucking Amish sect. But no, here's the real reason that they're spiritually dead inside. What do the Amish shun? They shun technology and more or less the arts. They have some crafts. Obviously, they did woodwork and quilting, and they make those creepy dolls without faces. I don't know what the fuck that's about. But they don't tell stories. They don't write books. Obviously, they don't, TV shows or movies are obviously a no-no. But they don't tell stories. You know what I mean? They don't, no novels, nothing like that. No literature, nothing like that. Now, the thing about man is we're a storytelling animal. The whole reason we write novels, the whole reason we created all these TV shows to entertain ourselves and movies, even the video games and all. So we're telling ourselves stories. We're telling each other stories. Hell, when Christ came down and talked to us, he told us stories. We like that. That's how we operate. Now, the Amish don't do that. And what else do they shun? Not only do they shun the aspect of humanity where we are a storytelling animal, but we are a creative animal. We are a building animal. We create things. We create technology. The very technology I'm using to talk to you right now. We perfect our living space. We create cars to go fast. We created a railroad system in this country to circumvent a continent with relative ease. We put a man on the moon mere decades after we first achieved flight. We build skyscrapers far taller and more magnificent than any building need ever be. Why do we do these things? We do these things. Why do we write books? Why do we build skyscrapers? We do these things because we have a divine spark in us. We do these things because we must. Now, don't get me wrong. There are downsides to technology and the arts, as it were. You can certainly entertain yourself to death. Obviously, that's a way to abuse something. But just because you can abuse alcohol doesn't mean it's wrong to drink. Likewise, just because you can entertain yourself to death doesn't mean it's wrong to read books or watch movies or play video games. Far from it. And obviously, technology can make us too soft, too dependent. We can end up like the fucking people in that Wall-E movie that Pixar did. Really great movie too, by the way, if you haven't seen it. But just because there are potential downsides, just because these things can be abused, doesn't mean they're not good things. And indeed, human nature, we have to do these things. We're driven to do these things. We're driven to tell stories. We're driven to create magnificent technology. They don't do any of those things. They don't reach for the stars. They roll around in the mud. And by doing that, they snuff out a bit of the divine spark in them. That is one of the biggest reasons they are spiritually dead. Well, if you see an old Amishman, he doesn't have any light in his eyes. You'd be hard pressed to ever see him smile. He's a miserable, miserable excuse for a man. Well, that's about all I got for this week, or this night, I should say, folks, not week. I'll probably do other streams throughout the week, but I just wanted to bitch about John Stone Street and the SNES Classic, because both those things triggered me a little bit. So yeah, guys, I want to thank everybody for listening. If you enjoy the show, you'll see the tip jar down below. Tips of any size are greatly appreciated, folks, and that helps me keep doing what I'm doing. But other than that, and also, the like, comment, and subscribe. I know everyone says that on YouTube. I know it's annoying to hear it. People say it because it helps channels grow. So yeah, that's all I got for tonight, folks. I want to thank you all for listening. Bechtloff out.